You know, there's a big difference between being good at arguing and having good arguments. We're going to talk about all that and more coming right up. Hey, I'm Matt. This is Truth Snack, a channel where I'm going on a journey to discuss what matters, and I'm inviting you to come along with me. You know, when we have discussions with people of different worldviews, the goal shouldn't be to be the better arguer. You know, by talking really fast or responding really quickly, or even throwing in a couple of great one-liners. Instead, I think the goal should be to present good arguments that show why we believe what we do. And I think that one way that we can do that really well is through deductive arguments, which is defined as the process of reasoning from one or more statements, known as premises, to reach a logically certain conclusion. Now, if you're like me, you hear that word certain and you get a little skeptical. And I think that's fair. It just sounds too good to be true. So let's spend a few minutes learning more about deductive arguments through 3 quick examples. 2 are going to be bad examples of deductive arguments, and 1 is going to be an example of a sound deductive argument. Here's the first example. Premise number 1, everyone who shaves has a razor. Premise number 2, I have a razor. Conclusion, therefore I shave. Well, there's an obvious problem with that conclusion because there's some evidence that I don't actually shave. Maybe I have a razor and I just don't use it. The problem with this argument is with what's called its form. There's a flaw in the logical structure so that even if the premises are all true, which they are, the conclusion doesn't follow necessarily. But for a deductive argument to be sound, the relationship between the premises need to be such that the conclusion follows necessarily. If you're interested in learning more about the different forms of arguments, check the description below. I've linked up some websites that go into it in far greater detail. But let's take what we've learned and apply it, and let's talk about our second example. Premise number 1, all bearded men want to be like Santa Claus. Premise number 2, I'm a bearded man. Conclusion, therefore I want to be like Santa Claus. See, in this argument, we fixed our issues with the form of the argument. If premise 1 and 2 are true, then the conclusion does follow necessarily. But our issue is obviously with the content of premise number 1. It's easy to show that not all bearded men want to be like Santa Claus. And so we can't say that the conclusion is a logical certainty. Here's our third and final example. Premise number 1. No bearded man is clean shaven. Premise number 2, I'm a bearded man. Conclusion, therefore I am not clean shaven. This is a good example of a sound deductive argument because it has a proper form, premises that are reasonably true, and therefore a necessary conclusion. The real value of a deductive argument is not in proving that everybody else is wrong. It's in helping people of different worldviews agree that the form of an argument is proper. And that allows their conversation to be laser focused on whether or not the premises are true or false. Deductive arguments are a powerful tool for creating dialogue. Over the last 2 weeks on Truth Snack, we've talked a lot about logic and reasoning. So here's today's question. If you trust in reasoning, do you lose your need for faith? What's the relationship between faith and reason? We're going to talk about just that next Tuesday on Truth Snack. I hope to see you then. Bye for now.